Welcome to my channel Trimit Color and welcome to the second part of the human head modeling. We are modeling this human head in Maya, and in the first part we have done the blocking of the eyes, nose and the lips. This part we are going to do the blocking of the ear and the detailing of the entire head. Let's start the modeling. So now let's move to create the ear. You can see this is the position of the ear. I don't have enough loop in this area to create the complicated ear, so I am inserting a couple of edge loops and I am equalizing it. Coming to the side view and taking multicut tool and splitting the ear. Here I am not splitting the outer edge of the ear, but I am visualizing the inside connection where the ear is connected with the original surface. Little bit adjustment by selecting the edges, and all the four corners you can see I have created 4 pentagons and 4 triangles, so that also I need to split and I have to rectify it. So from the corners up to the triangle I am splitting it for all the 4 sides, and now you can see everything is quads. So now once again by selecting the vertices I am equalizing it. Before moving forward, let's discuss about the shape of the ear, then the modeling process will be a little bit easier for us. I always divide the shape of the ear into 5 parts. First of all, this is helix, this is called antihelix, this is tragus, this is lobe, and the negative area of all these 4 areas. So helix is 1, antihelix second part, tragus third part, the lobe is 4th part, and this 5th negative area. So in my model also I am going to do the blocking of these 5 areas. So let's go to the modeling once again. First of all, I am selecting all the faces from the base of the ear and I am extruding it, pulling it out and rotate it forward so that we can have a volume of the ear. Now I have to scale it up to match the outer part of the ear. So here I am matching the outer line of the helix, and this is looking fine, and you can see I am getting the volume of the ear. So I think I need to rotate it a little bit. Okay, that's looking fine. I have to blend the plane of the ear with the plane of the cheeks. So for that I am selecting this edge, going to edit mesh and collapse. You can see the edge I am converting into a vertex. Now these 2 planes are blended and I am keeping these 2 triangles intentionally. Later on I am going to rectify it. Now let's create this helix part. So selecting all the faces of this plane once again, and I'm going to extrude it, scale it down. Here you can see I'm making room for the helix. So this is the room for the helix, but the helix direction is different than this, so I'm going to split it in the direction of the helix. While splitting, you can see I am creating so many pentagons and triangles, but don't worry about that for now. We are going to rectify it later on. So this is the direction of the helix, and now I will rectify the loops a little bit. I'll clean it and I'll try to make everything quads. So the loop for the helix is ready, and here and there you can see some triangles and pentagons, so I'm going to rectify it later on. I'm pushing these faces inside because the source point of the helix will be a little bit inside, so rectifying the vertices also with the same plane. Here, after doing some modification, we will move to block in the helix. Now I am going to select the faces of the helix, and you can see this is the area, this is the origin of the helix. So from there I am selecting the faces. I am leaving the last face to spin my edge and extrude it and pull it out, scaling it down, and similarly at the origin of it I am pushing it inside and selecting that edge. I am spinning it. I am using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl Alt and forward arrow and adjust the vertices. Okay, so this is fine. For the end part also I am spinning it inside. That's fine. Now let's move on to the antihelix area. So this is the region of the antihelix. So again I am going to split the shape of the antihelix. This side also I am splitting it. By selecting the edges, I'll delete it and I will draw a proper topology. So you can see I am drawing a continuous loop, and now gradually I will split it. I'm trying to keep everything in quads. If not now, later on definitely I will convert everything into quads. So here you can see two triangles are converted into two quads. A little bit adjustment. Now selecting all the faces from the antihelix area, and I'm going to extrude it, pull it out and scale it down. Okay, now I have to adjust the edges, and definitely I will see the reference image and I'll tweak it accordingly. I can see some edges uneven, so I have to equalize those edges by sliding it. And now selecting the components, I am trying to give the shape of the antihelix. Again I am correcting the shape from the side view by tweaking the vertices. Now let's move to create the tragus. In this area you can see I don't have enough loop, so I am going to split it. Here you check how I am trying to increase my loop. From one loop I will divide it into 3. So I am already having 2 loops over here. Now in between I'll give another loop. So from one loop I'm dividing it into 3 loops. This is the way you can increase your topology in certain parts of your model. So you can see this is the area of the tragus. So I will slide my edges a little bit upward to create room for the tragus. At least I should have 2 faces to extrude the tragus part. I am also thinking to add another loop in this area. Then it will be better, the loop will not look stretched. Now it will be easy to make the room. So I am again sliding the edges. So now you can see I am having 2 faces to extrude. Also modifying the vertices to give it a circular shape. Okay, this is looking fine. Now I can select the faces and extruding it, pulling it out and scaling it down, and by selecting the edges I will push it inside so that the area will look a little bit circular. Now selecting this edge and spinning it and trying to create a continuous loop. Now by selecting the vertex I am modifying it according to the shape. In this area, this face is having 7 vertices, so I will split it and will try to create the quad. Still I can see 1 pentagon. I will modify that also. Now by selecting this edge I am spinning it, and then by selecting the vertices I will trying to make the room for the negative shape. Okay, that's fine. Now let's rectify the topology of this area. So I'm splitting it and I'll delete this edge and I will split, and all the loops are going towards the negative shape. And I will also modify the vertices according to the shape. So adding mode loop, and you can see now that pentagon is converted into quads. I am also spinning the edges for a continuous loop. Sliding this edge loop. I will also slide the edge loops to equalize the topology or the loops. You can see these loops are too close, so it's necessary to equalize it. Otherwise, after smoothing the model, sharp edges can be seen in those areas. So now by selecting the vertices, I am trying to create the room for the negative shape, because after that I am going to extrude it. Now let's rectify these faces. I can see so many triangles in this area, so I'm splitting it and I will delete this edge. So both the sides I have created 2 triangles. Over here I am continuing this loop and I will slide it. I will equalize this area so that I should get a very nice curve of the helix. Okay, that's fine. Now I'm deleting this edge and splitting this area, adjusting the vertices, select this edge and I'm spinning it. I'm going to select all these faces and I'm extruding it, pushing it inside and scaling it down. This will be the negative area of the helix, antihelix, tragus and the lobe. And now I am modifying the vertices. Now let's rectify this area. I am taking multi-cut tool and I am splitting this area and deleting this edge. That's fine. Deleting this edge also, and I will continue that loop by using multi-cut tool up to the bottom. And now you can see these faces are looking quartz. Spinning this edge, and let's modify it a little bit. I'm also spinning it. Here what I'm trying to do is the source of helix should look like it is ending under the antihelix. So I'm trying to create the topology like that, and I have got the topology correct in this area. It is looking clean now, and a few adjustments I need to do by tweaking the vertices and the edges to create some groups. So I'm doing that by pushing the edges inside. Coming to the side view, and by selecting the vertices, I am tracing the intertragical notch, and later on I am going to extrude this area, so I am making room for that. I am splitting it, and I can see some possibility cleaning up this area. So selecting the edge and spinning it, you can see the flow is looking better. Now select this edge and delete, and I'm going to split it. Again continuing the loop, and you can see now everything is looking quartz. Only another split I need to do. Okay, that is also looking quad, and this is the final split. Okay, now the area is looking much more cleaner. Here I am splitting this area to trace the area properly. That's looking fine. Now selecting these two faces and extruding it, pushing it inside, scaling it down, again extruding it, pushing it inside further, scaling it down. That's fine, and delete it. That's looking fine. At the intertragical notch, I am giving another loop just to exaggerate that edge. Now again, by sliding the edges, I am trying to equalize the topology. Okay, the front face is looking fine. Now let's go towards the back of the ear. You can remember I kept these two triangles intentionally so that whenever I am going to add a new loop to make the adjoining area sharper, it will be restricted in between these two triangles. So let's give the edge loop, and you can see it is restricted in between. Now selecting these faces, I'm going to extrude it, scale it down, rotating it at the y-axis, also scaling it down, and keeping the faces on that plane only. That's fine, I need to rotate it more. Okay. Now selecting this edge, I am spinning it inside and spinning this also inward. Now let's modify the topology. Here I am sliding it. Always after inserting and splitting the edge loop, my job is to equalize it. Keeping everything on same plane. Also sliding this edge loop and rectifying the volume. Let's rectify the volume of the lobe also. Here I am doing some more modification of the volume, correcting the shape and equalizing the topology. I am planning to make back of the helix sharper, so I am inserting one edge loop in this area. And also you can see I need to equalize it because two loops are appearing too close. So sliding the edges. Okay, this is looking fine. I'm done with the blocking of the head. Now I'll go to the individual areas and I'll add some very small detailing to it, and then we are done. Coming to the eyelid and inserting one edge loop, then of course we need to equalize it. So sliding the edges, also modifying the edges in soft selection mode. Rectifying the shape of the eye a little bit. Same for the lower lid. Here I am going to do an alteration. The upper eyelid should overlap the lower eyelid. In our topology also that sense should be visible. So I am going to split it. So from one edge loop I'll just change the direction of the edge loop. So by splitting I am going to do that. So you can see from one edge loop I am splitting to the other edge loop so that I can change the direction of the edge loop and then delete the in-between edge. So you can see direction has been changed from one edge loop to another edge loop. Same thing I'm going to do this side. I'm equalizing the edges a little bit. Now let's split it. So you can see I'm changing the loop over here also, from one loop to the other. Now select the in-between edges and delete. It will give the sense of the overlapping. So inside also I'm inserting another edge loop and I'm completing that loop, and the other side also I'm going to split it. At the bottom I'm going to give another loop, and again I'm going to split. It is complete, and in front also it is complete. So we are done with this. A little bit adjustments with the edges. I'll modify the edges in this area to exaggerate the corners of the eye. Now let's come to the lacrimal area, and I will block in that also. Let's modify the shape a little bit. So sliding the edge loop and inserting another edge loop in this area. And now I will delete this face. Now select these two faces and go to edit mesh and bridge. You can see I have got new faces in that area. So that will be the lacrimal area. Just to modify the shape, I am inserting another edge loop in this area. Again, I need to equalize it. Now by selecting the edges, we can modify it. Now selecting these two faces, I am going to extrude it, pulling it out and scaling it down. That's fine. By pulling this edge, I am trying to add some volume to it. This is looking fine. Now by selecting the components, I will modify the shape a little bit. Okay, this is looking fine. Now let's move towards the lips. Deleting half of the model, going to mesh and mirror option, and here I am selecting negative X side and mirroring it, and you can see this is the complete model. Now selecting the open edge of the lip and extruding it, pushing it inside in global axis. And translating it towards the Y. Again extruding it, pushing it more, and again translating it towards the Z axis this time, pushing it inside more. For this model I am keeping this much only, and if you want you can create the entire inner mouth area by extruding it. Now again selecting the half of the model and I'm deleting it, and again duplicate spatial, selecting the edges of the lips and I'm modifying it, pulling it upward just to exaggerate the lips pad. Also modify the corner vertices. This is looking fine now, only a few modifications to equalize the mesh. So far looking fine. Now I'll select half of the model and delete it, going to the mesh and mirror, and with the negative X I am mirroring it, and this is my complete model. Now going to mesh and going to the option box of the smooth exponential with one subdivision level, I am smoothing it. You can see some deformations here and there, that's why I'm going to sculpt it. So going to the sculpt tab and this is smooth, I am smoothing it. So all the necessary areas you can smooth it, some areas you can pull or push. So from the sculpting tab you can select the tools and can sculpt the entire model. Okay, you can see these are all deformations. Now taking the sculpt tool and pulling the chin area a little bit. Okay, now I am going to smooth it. That's fine. Okay, so this is the model I have got finally after sculpting. So you can see the close-up shot of it. I am quite happy with the result. The sculpting process can be done in other application also, like ZBrush and Mudbox. So this is my today's output. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.